Y'all can hear me all right though? Everybody can hear me? And we'll be getting started soon.
Welcome to the Atlanta Quilt Festival. I am Opie Brantley, the CEO of the Atlanta Quilt Festival. And on behalf of the Board of Directors and the rest of the Quilt Festival team, I want to say we are so happy you are here. One of my favorite things to say is I know you could have been anywhere in the world you wanted to be, and instead you chose to be here with us, and I am grateful. I'm going to do a little bit of rambling on for about 5 minutes as we allow people to get into the room so that our esteemed lecturer will not be interrupted during her lecture. But I do want to remind you that last night was only the beginning, today is only the beginning, and we have many activities that I want to share with you that will be going on for the rest of the month. But before I do that, let me wake everybody up and ask everybody who is a quilter, please stand. If you are a quilter, okay, where's the picture in here? Let's get a picture. So we have a lot of quilters in the room. And if you have a quilt in the John Lewis book, the Good Trouble Quilts book, remain standing. Okay. Yay. Last night, we had a fabulous time with the book launch. We had a standing room only crowd, and we were graced with the presence of Congressman Lewis's only son, John Miles Lewis, who was here to accept a gift on behalf of the Atlanta Quilt Festival, which was his favorite quilt in the Good Trouble Quilts book. And that quilt happened to be done by Melinda Russian, selling, is it Against the Wind or With the Wind? But we all know that beautiful portrait quilt that Melinda did, and we presented that to Congressman Lewis's son, and he made remarks, and it was just really a wonderful evening. I do want to share with you that we sold a lot of books, so we are happy about that our story is getting out into the world. And we had a lot of people from out of town, as we have out of town people today. So all in all, last night was a glorious night. And we will be selling the book throughout the month of August until the festival ends September 6th. So if you don't have your book yet, you should buy it at the Atlanta Quilt Festival because you'll get a free tote bag and bookmark and a discounted price if you buy it at the Atlanta Quilt Festival. But it is available on our website. So that was last night. Now we're looking forward. After the lecture today, which Peggy will be coming to say more about that, what we're doing today in a minute. But after today, tomorrow's our big day. We always have a big opening reception, first Sunday in August. So you can go ahead and mark your calendar for first Sunday in August 2026 and know that you will be right here with us looking at quilts. Opening day is always wonderful and special because it's the only day we have vendors. And this year, we have more vendors than ever. We have 24 vendors selling all types of artistic, handcrafted things and they are going to be stationed in the classrooms down the hall. We are very proud of our curriculum for this year. We're known for a lot of classes. So every Friday and Saturday in August, we have classes. For those of you who did not stand up when I said, "Are you a quilter?" we do offer a beginning quilting class so you can become a quilter very easily and be one of us. Also, we have a youth quilting class that we are very proud of because part of our mission is to pass on the art of quilting to future generations. So if you know any teenagers, the class is not full, and we also have scholarships. If you know any teenagers or young teens, as young as 12, 10 if they're precocious, we still have space in the youth quilting class. But all of our classes are in this book. Make sure you get a copy of our commemorative program book. The schedule's in here. Our sponsors are in here because we could not do what we do without our sponsors. And all the list of all the quilts are in the book. A word about the exhibit before I take my seat. Every year we do a special exhibit, and for the last 3 years we did John Lewis. And that exhibit, the first one, traveled the country, and all of those quilts ended up in the book. Well, this year we're taking a pause from John Lewis, and our special exhibit is right in this room where you're sitting, and it's called Freedom to Read What I Want. And as you might expect, the quilts are about banned books. We at the Atlanta Quilt Festival are readers. Many, many quilters are educators. We think it's horrible that people would try to ban books. So in this exhibit, we are having our say, as Jackie would say, through thread and cloth, about banned books. And so I hope you will spend some time with the quilts in this room because they are all beautiful, and it'll probably take you down memory lane when you were in high school, and you probably have read most of the books that are depicted in this room. Of course, the heart of the Atlanta Quilt Festival is the juried exhibit. And every year it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and this year was no exception. We have 101 quilts in the juried exhibit, and all of those quilts are down the hallway and in one of the rooms. And as you know, for you people who come every year, we judge the quilts. We have a panel of judges to judge the quilts, and we award ribbons to winning quilts in 5 categories this year: art quilts, traditional quilts, modern quilts, African American heritage, and this year for the first time we're doing small quilts because our judges thought that our small quilts were not getting their due. And so if a quilt is under 30 inches, it also is judged in a small quilt category, and we will award ribbons in the small quilt category. And guess when we're going to do that? Tomorrow at 2 p.m. You want to be in this room when we award the ribbons for the juried quilts. But that's not all. The quilts will be here until September 6th. And during that time, the viewers of the exhibit get to have their say. And they get to vote for best of show, all during the month. And at the end of the show, we add up all the ballots. It's secret ballot. You choose your top 3 different quilts Don't put the same one for all three. You cannot rig the counting. At the end of it all, we count the ballots, and there will be one quilt that will be crowned Best of Show. And that quilt is always on our program and our PR materials for the following year. And last year, it was Mona Haygood's quilt called Friends. It's a beautiful quilt, makes a beautiful cover. And it was the winner of Best of Show. We have a wonderful prize for the winner, and we're gonna surprise you with that on September 6th. So September 6th at 2 p.m. in this room, we're gonna announce Best of Show. So put that on your calendar as well. So I will look forward to seeing you around throughout the festival. I hope you will sign up for the classes. Only one class is sold out, our AI class, so when you look through, there's space in all the other classes, and we all can learn a lot. I have to mention one final thing, because this is a new thing and you might not pay attention to it. We have a special collaboration this year with the Alliance Theater. They are going to bring their production that they would be normally doing downtown on Peachtree Street in the Alliance Theater, their production for ages 0 to 5. Yes, I said 0 to 5 is for the babies. And so all of you with grandchildren, like I have a new one, please sign up and come to see Rhythm and Thread, the Alliance production for ages 0 to 5. It is free for everyone. And so all you have to do is RSVP on our website, bring the baby. Okay? All right. So with that, I want to introduce you to my good friend Peggy Martin, fellow quilter. We've been quilting together for many, many years. She is the past president of the Brown Sugar Stitchers, and she is going to come to the podium and introduce our esteemed lecturer, Carolyn White.
Well, thank you. I'm not as tall, but I'm not going to adjust it. Thank you for being here. Like Ovi said, we have some out-of-town people, and we love it because that shows that you have found a good place to come to. Carolyn White, our lecturer today, is originally from New Orleans. She's a longtime friend. She's also Brown Sugar Stitchers Quilt Guild member. Her techniques are so unique. I mean, she's going to explain. I can't even begin. Her quilts are all the ones that you see on the easels. Thank you to her husband, because he's always right by her side, helping us when we need to hang quilts, and we appreciate that. I'm not going to take up your time because you really want to hear from her. I went to a family reunion one time, and it was like my cousin was in between eating, and it was like, he just needs to get out of the way. So I'm going to get out of the way so you can hear from Carolyn. Come on, Carolyn. Thank you.
Just one quick housekeeping. We are filming Carolyn's lecture today, and so make sure your phones are off, and whatever you do when you know there's filming going on.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Like Ovi said, there's thousands of things you could have done this afternoon, especially with the inclement weather always hovering over. But I appreciate immensely that you came to share with us. This is the first lecture in the series for 2025 that's dedicated to Marva Swanson. Okay, this is Marva. She appeared in the Brown Sugar Stitchers 20th anniversary book, and this is the picture that's 2 years left. And in the picture in the middle, it has Marva standing in front of tumbling in space. And this was exhibited at the Houston International Festival in 2010. And so you see at the bottom, this is her, folks, most of us are from the Brown Sugar Stitchers, so you see me and some past presidents, and you might recognize some other folks there. But that was that occasion when she exhibited that beautiful quilt. Now, we lost Marva in the last couple of years, but her spirit is always around us because of the quilting that she did. She was a phenomenal quilter. Okay, this is me, January 2012. And they asked me to talk a little bit about me, my background, and how I came into quilting. This was at my retirement dinner in Atlanta, about 38 years with Food and Drug Administration. I decided to retire. But as OV and probably Peggy mentioned, I'm from New Orleans, and I came here after the floods in New Orleans, 2005. And on the way here, I was in Nashville for a while because Food and Drug has this thing called continuation of operations, so you don't know where you might land. So I was in Nashville a little while, and then I came here in 2006. And so in New Orleans, I was what they call a field investigator for many, many years, and going out doing inspections and everything. And then for 6 years, while still in New Orleans, I was a supervisory investigator. And as that time passed, right at the 6th year, that's when Hurricane Katrina happened. So I relocated in Atlanta, and I was fortunate enough to get my same position in the Atlanta district office. So for 6 additional years, I worked in Atlanta. And before all of that, I went to Xavier University, and I met my husband, Philip, who's sitting over there while we were at Xavier. And at Xavier, you might say, okay, that's many, many, many years ago, but we've been married 52 years. Last November, so we're going to 53. Thank you, Lord. And so while at Xavier, I majored in biology with a minor in chemistry, so that's how I ended up with Food and Drug with that kind of background. But after that, being here in Atlanta, let me see. I think the next slide. Okay, I just wanted to show you all that step by step you have a journey toward achievement. And you might say, well, how did you start quilting? How did you start sewing? But way, way back, when I was about 16 years old, my sister Elsie, she helped me make my prom dress. And so that was in high school, but I had been sewing maybe a couple of years before that. So when I got married to Philip, I made my wedding gown. And so for over 55 years, I have been doing garment sewing, costumes, and for balls and long gowns and all of that. So I came to quilting with a little background in sewing. The only thing in quilting, you quilters might know, that the 1/4 inch is the gospel. So when you sew garments, it's 5/8 inch. And so that was a little transition for me, but I was able to make that. So coming to, let me just, this I wanted to just share with you. There is so much to be said and realized about divine intervention and the strength of human perseverance and resilience. So sometimes when you get troubled waters and you don't know which way you're going, you send some prayers up. Okay, let's see the next one. Okay, now, this is going to show the history of how I kind of came into quilting in Atlanta. The lady to the far left is Marva Chapman, and I call her my quilting mama because she was a member of the Brown Sugar Stitchers. And with Brown Sugar Stitchers, they're always so welcoming, and so she said, come to a meeting, and I signed up. that day. So that was in 2006. And you see Marla, that's her creations. And then we were at the International Quilt Festival. And of course, I had to take a picture with her because they have the background set up and everything. And this is my sister-in-law, Irma White. And she's my quilting daughter. And let me just tell you how these monikers came about. Irma said, well, if Marla's your quilting mama, then she's my quilting grandma. So anyway, she came up with that. So you see her and I at the Atlanta Quilt Festival, whichever year it was. That's the quilt that we're standing on. Okay, let's see the next one.
What's the name of the quilt?
It's Calla Lily Lady with Ebony Eyes. And that's my daughter-in-law, Ebony. And so, and she's not an AKA, unfortunately. Everybody thinks they see that pink in it. But that was the color she selected for her wedding. So that I kind of threw that in. So we'll talk about that as we go around. Okay, now you might know this lady. It's Peggy Martin. And there she introduced me. And she's such a sweetheart. And that is the quilt that she won, the big ribbon. And I didn't put the year up there. But that's one of her creations. And then this is another quilt. And this one is in the John Lewis book. And so that's Peggy. Next. And this is Michelle Kearney Willis sitting over there. And all of these ladies, you know, they are kind of like, you know, you say in life that you're going to sometimes find your tribe and people that lift you up. And these ladies have been tremendous over the years. So then, go back one. I wanted to show Michelle. Okay, that's my favorite quilt that she did. She did a lot of quilts, but this one, for whatever reason, I love that quilt. And Sankofa is the name. And so this is another quilt that she did. Okay, thank you. I got to keep going because I'm talking too much. Okay, and that's OV, of course, and she's in front of a red and white quilt, and that, you know, some quilts that she's done, they have had a life of their own. But these quilts that she's done, she had a big show here several years ago. And then that wasn't enough. She brought this to the International Quilt Festival and had a humongous exhibit. And at that same show, she had John Lewis quilts there too. And so she's a celebrity. What can I say? Okay, and this is Nancy DeCrenny Franklin. And she's another one of my quilt sisters. You know, like I'm mentioning these names and I could go on and on and on, but I gotta stop sooner or later. But Nancy's here. Thank you, Nancy. Okay. All right, now this is Jan Hollis, and she's a tremendous quilter and doll maker. And Edith Jones is the president of the Brown Sugar Stitchers. So these are, I mean, I'm gonna have to stop with this, but the next picture will show you. This is the Brown Sugar Stitches. This is just a little handful. I think we have like 140, if not more, members now from all over. When the pandemic happened, we reached out to do Zoom. And folks from the West Coast, the East Coast, I don't think we have international. That's the only thing we haven't, but all over. And we have Zoom meetings, and now we have like the in-person meetings as well as Zoom, so that we can bring in people that can't come to the city. And so, like Jennifer said, she thought I was coming all the way from New Orleans and back and forth. She said, you come to the meetings? Okay, at the bottom, let me see, go back one. At the bottom, okay, this is the book that Brown Sugar Stitches has to commemorate the 20th anniversary. And this is one of the pictures that's in the book Quilt Folks. I don't know if you all are familiar. I brought my copy. And this is the book. And in this book, they have a cover, they're covering gatherings, and the Brown Sugar Stitchers are featured in that section of the book. But they also had a picture of mine that ended up in the High Museum. Okay, so I was so honored. And so you see a lot of these past members, and they're holding this quilt. So if you ever get a hand on this collector's item, okay. Let's see the next. Okay, now these are my first 2 quilts. Okay, now this was in 2006, as I said when I started. They have such a thing as to have a challenge. And so we have a member, Mila, are you here? I think you came up with some of these challenges. And I oftentimes would do quilts in response to a challenge. So this challenge was to come up with a quilt that expressed some saying, you know, like, I can't think of what the name of it, but, you know, like, you know, stitch in time saves 9, you know, different things like that. So this one is, behind every cloud there is a silver lining. And I did that kind of like as tribute to landing in a space that was welcoming. And so that quilt, you can flip the applique areas in this silver fabric behind it. This one, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. I know you heard of that. Okay, so those are my first 2 quilts. So I put them in here so that you could see. So, you know, it's like you start somewhere, but I really started sewing garments first, but this was my first time. Okay, now this is glassful vases, and this was done, my middle sister passed, and so I was in the process of doing a quilt to commemorate her. This was a paint chip challenge, and so the 3 colors that's in there was a part of the challenge. And so you'll see it's like a 3D because I put flowers in vases, so it's called glassful vases, but the flowers are like gladiolas. And so this is Philip, and this is his quilt. This is a tribute like to New Orleans, and this was a part of a challenge that was to do something that spoke to refurbishing and reuse and rebirth. And so that one has pictures of fleur-de-lis that were all around the city of New Orleans. And so next. Okay, now, they had such a thing as the Tri-Guild Challenge. And so what this was like every year they come up with the challenge, like, and then so you got to work because you had to have it finished by January of the subsequent year. And so that was the first year I won. That was a Crazy Quilt. And you might see people here, let me see, I think Brenda's in one of them, holding one of my favorite ones that she did. And that one was to speak to a book, a poem. So this quilt is Maya Angelou's tribute in Phenomenal Woman. And this one, let's see, up here. I'm trying to think if that was, I think, a challenge that you were supposed to use basically one color. And so brown was the color that I focused on, and that's Louis Armstrong. And down here, this is a quilt I did for my son Randall. He passed in September, but he was a Pisces, and so it's called Hey Fishy, Fishy Kaleidoscope, You Light Up My Life. Okay, let's see the next one. Okay, now this was on exhibit at the Woodruff Library back, I guess it was 2013 or something like that. But that exhibit was at the Woodruff. That was for the Brown Sugar Stitchers. And we just recently had another exhibit at the Woodruff Library. And so that's Louis, and you see all around, okay, you see all around, that's songs that Louis made, and those little discs represent the records. For those of you that remember what a record. That's what that was supposed to be. Okay, the next one, that's Hey Fishy, Fishy Kaleidoscope, You Light Up My Life, and that's my son Randall. Okay, the next one. Okay, now this one, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what the challenge was, but it had to be a challenge, I think. But that, I put a song in this one that was by the Alabama Shakes, Sound and Color. And that was the first time I incorporated light. There's a flashing light on that big circle. And so my son said, my oldest son said, what's the 10 mean? I said, that's not a 10. I never saw it was a 10. He saw it as a 10. I said, it's supposed to be a window. That was one of the lyrics in the song, out of the window. Okay, so that won first place in the modern quilt category at the Atlanta Quilt Festival in 2017. Now these just a couple of other quilts I drew in. Ebony and Ivory, Grandmother's Puzzle. That's Jared, my oldest son. He has that on exhibit at his home, encased. He and his wife, they loved it. They put it under glass. And so you can't see the labeling on the back. So I do have photographs of that. And this one, in celebration of Juneteenth, I did this in 2021. And I got a call from Marva. And she said, we need some quilts. We need some Juneteenth quilts. I said, well, I'm working on something else because I rarely work on more than one quilt at a time. I'm not prolific. So I got to work and I did this one and it exhibited in the celebration of Juneteenth that they had here. And so that was in 2021. Okay, now this one, Carrying Our Burdens Gracefully, and it's an homage to Dr. Maya Angelou, the phenomenal woman. That was done in 2015. And this is that quilt, so if you have a chance to take a look. This one made it to the John Lewis exhibit. Okay, I brought some. Okay, let's see. Okay, now we talk about learning how to quilt. And the Atlanta Quilt Festival is premier in that category. This is Bisa Butler. I know some of you quilters might recognize that name, but the Atlanta Quilt Festival in 2015 brought her here. And this is at Marva's, I don't know if you would call that a den. It was more like, what would you call it?
Go to the porch.
Anyway, it's humongous. And she invited us over to have the class, and I think they had 2 classes, but these are the members of the class, and that I was there. Let me see who all are in there. That's here. Can you find? Let me see. Who's hiding in the back? I see Olivia. Yeah.
You got Roz.
Yeah. Anyway, she brought, she did a quilt show. It's amazing. And this is when she was a baby quilter, I guess, because now she's so renowned. But this was the class that she taught, and that's my copy of Abstract Lupita. And that was, see, she's holding a picture of what we used in that technique that she taught. Okay, these are some of my charity quilts. Now, Brown Sugar Stitchers, they often give to their charities. And so these are a few of my quilts that I had done for charities. I just wanted to let you know that one down at the bottom, I keep hitting this, but that was one of my first twin quilts, twin size, because I always did smaller quilts. And so that was like a beginning quilt for me. And then this one I did, and I included the pillow. And the baby quilt, I don't do many baby quilts, but that is Seek and You Shall Find. And I don't know where the baby is today because it was a charity quilt, but I did embroidery in there. And you had to look close and you'd see the little animal that was embroidered. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, now this was a fundraiser, because I've been hanging around the Atlanta Quilt Festival from the beginning. I don't even remember what year, this is 17, but back in 2018, we had, this was a celebration of the 10th anniversary, and so we did these 10-inch squares, and so that was the one I donated, and this lady ran up and bought it before anybody else. Philip often talks, I wanted to buy that, but anyway, she was, all I remember, she was overjoyed, and she was from Montgomery, and she paid $25 a piece. So she made out like a bandit when you look back, you know, but she was so happy. Okay. Okay, now this is a quilt I did for Philip's grandfather. And this was the first reunion we had after the storm. So you see 2007. And he was 100 years old in 2005. So this was 2 years later. And he worked for the railroad for many, many years and retired. And so his quilt has like train theme on it. And he was affectionately known as Papa. And this is I don't know who took the pictures, but he was almost in tears. You could see he was laughing. He was so proud of that quilt. Okay, let's see the next one. This is my mother-in-law, Miss Marva White. And she was making 90. This is back in 2019. And so this quilt is my first king-size quilt, because she has a king-size bed, but it's very ornate, so she puts it out for people to see and puts it back. But it has many, many square, point on, what's the term?
Square and square.
Yeah, square and a square. And so I found like photographs, family members were sending photographs, and so I did that on an inkjet printer and a lot of embroidery, and that's a close-up. If you look really close, right around her glasses, that's a picture of her holding Philip when he was a little boy, a little baby. And this is the family we took, and on her quilt, I put music in the quilt, it's for the good times. And that was Al Green. And she told me, why does that quilt keep making that noise? So these are my two sons, Randall and Jared, and that's my grandson Amadi, Philip Lee Velez, and that's my daughter-in-law Ebony, and then that's Jaya at a younger age, so you'll see her later. Okay, there she is later. And so the granddaughters, they are in front of the three great leaders, which is, I keep bumping into that, over here. And then this is Open Your Eyes, which is over there. So you have to look at that quote. If you see Open Your Eyes, once you see it, you can't unsee it. But it's there. And that was in 2024. And that was last year, won second place. I put the ribbons on it so that you can see that it's a nice little quilt. See, it's got the Christmas stuff. What a gift. Okay, next one. Okay, now we're going to start talking about the journey into the museums. Back in 2018, the month of my birthday, April, we visited Washington, D.C. My great friends, the Hardys from New Orleans, we've been knowing them for many years. So we went to Washington to see the National Museum of African American History and Culture. But this quilt was in the archives. The National Portrait Gallery, which is in a separate installation, but everything is under Smithsonian, if you all follow that. Okay, so this quilt is Michelle LaVaughn Robinson Obama. And this is when before you went into the exhibit, you saw that. They had people just pushing and trying to get in to see it, because everybody wanted to see hers. But poor Barack, he got seen, but not at the level hers was. So I took photographs of the picture, and let's see the next one. Okay, this is as I was doing the construction. I contacted the Smithsonian, and I said, I took some photographs, and I'm interested in doing a quilt with the theme of Obama wearing that dress. Now you all remember seeing that G's been dressed. This was a Millie creation, some New York designer, and when Michelle and Amy Sherrill chose that dress, she said, it reminds me of the black quilters in G's bin. But also it's got a little hint of Pierre Mondrian, if you notice those stalk lines and triangles and whatever. But in the construction, well, I got permission. They said, yeah, go ahead and do it. So once I finished it, I sent them pictures and they were just happy that I was able to capture that moment. And you'll see in the far left, that's me doing the quilting. And that quilt, as you can see, it's got a lot of swirls in it. And so that's gold thread that I went on top of it. So, and then, let's see, it's a quilt in a quilt. If you can see this, it's actually a quilt, and then it's on top of another quilt that has a little girl, Parker Corey, in that quilt. And you'll see in the phases of, let me see, over there, I'm trying to see what, that was the floor in the far left bottom, if you could see it close up. I was trying to get the impression that she was standing back from the quilt, from the portrait. And I was trying to get the perspective of the floor. And so if you look on here, you'll see how the baseboard is and the flooring. I don't have it. The high has it, so I couldn't borrow it. So, but I brought a little canvas so you can take a look at it. You can look close up. And then in her hair, she has afro puffs and cowrie shells. Along her jacket, there's cowrie shells. So this was in process. And so on her jacket is the 44 virtues that I thought of Michelle in Iraq. And so that's embroidered in. You could vary, if you look close, you'll see it in that. And so she has, the inside of her hood has some African ladies, and so that was a fabric that I had been holding on to just to use it at the right time. And so I printed some sites that you can go to that the High has done. And they, it's like an interactive, and you can drill down, and it talks about each section of the quilt. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, this is the quilt. The 3 ribbons are here. I brought them for you to see. Okay, this was, first it was a challenge, of course. It was brown sugar stitchers. And the challenge was to come up with something that demonstrates you standing on the shoulder of people that went before you. And so, hence I said, that's G's Men. That's the ladies down in G's Men. And I thought, that's when I did that quilt, you know. And so, it won a ribbon for brown sugar. And then it won a ribbon for the Atlanta Quilt Festival. And then it won Best of Show for the Atlanta Quilt Festival that year. And on the back, unless they let you see it at the High, these are different labelings that I put on the back of my quilts, because you hear people talk about quilters in the old days. They didn't label it because they were doing the quilts just to keep warm. They didn't know it might end up in a museum. But oftentimes, you don't know who made the quilt. So I try to put like a little history on the back, what my inspiration, who inspired me. So you'll see pictures of the Obamas when they were receiving the portraits. You have Amy and Michelle Obama. And that's the little girl, Parker Corey, standing in front of the portrait. And then around them are the G's Ben, some G's Ben quilts that are kind of shown in that dress. And then Unforgettable, if you could hear it, is in that quilt. So that's what the name of it is. It was awestruck before an unforgettable Nubian queen, from G's Ben to royalty. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, now this one, you'll see, let's see, this was in process, but you can see a close-up of her afro puffs. And then you'll see a close-up of how I did the trim around the quilt on top of the other quilt. Okay, next. This is the labeling. So you'll see I have the Unforgettable, and that was Natalie and her daddy. And then I have the same thing I showed you on the previous, but just a close-up, so you can see it a little better. Okay, now this is the exhibit at the Atlanta Quilt Festival, and this is this ribbon. And so that was before it won the Best of Show. And so OV shared this picture with me because I often tell people I want the next generation to appreciate what we do. And I want the next generation to know that it just didn't start when they showed up. And so this young lady is your neighbor, I think, Ovi. Let her know that she made my slides. And so she was admiring the quilt when it was here, and it hung right in that spot, right behind that screen at the Atlanta Quilt Festival in 2021. Okay, now this is just some words of thought. As you discover your passion in the art of quilting, you will create to express your creativity, to connect, and to leave a fingerprint. Okay. This is the High Museum, and so I'm bringing you on this journey. And so what happened with the High Museum, this is the first exhibit it was in. But it just didn't happen. There was a lot of background work. So what happened, the portraits were coming to Atlanta. And I had, the quilt was on exhibit here. And it was a quilt, a trunk show. And I was sitting next to Peggy. Well, there she is. And she says, you know, you need to contact the High. And I said, what? Because the lady that wasn't able to be here today, she let me know last night, she's on the West Coast. She is the senior curator at the High. But I sent emails to the High saying, I have this quilt. I know y'all want to see it, y'all want to put it somewhere when the portraits come. And so I found out that each thing is separate. You know, like you have a traveling group, and then you have the exhibitors at the museum, and this one and that one and the other. So I found out that they didn't like anything other than what they planned to show, and that was those two portraits. If you all got the opportunity to go to the High when it was there. So this was the first quilt. Now, go back one. Let me just set y'all up for this one now. Now, this was the first exhibit in 2022 because it was back and forth, you know, about, you know, what's going to happen to the quilt. Do you want to donate it? Do you want to sell it? Blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it ended up, they bought it. And there it is. It was the first exhibit in December 22. It was between two gold-painted busts of Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King by this astounding sculptor, Vernon Burwell. And the gallery viewing emphasized the works that engaged with the civil rights era and more recent histories. And it included a rotating display of works from the High's civil rights photography collection. Nala Barnes, who was a fellow, she was the one that coordinated it, and she did the photographs of Doris Darby. She was actually an accomplished photographer and activist, and she made made of black women and girls to correspond to my quilt. So on the other wall, there was a lot of photographs. And so if you go to the High site, and I'm going to give you a list of where you can go and drill down and find some of this information. But that quilt was like honored among all of these portraits, photographs, and everything. Okay, thank you. Okay, now, this is Philip and I. We were viewing, once it got set up, and Katie called, she said, the quilt is up. You want to come see it? So I said, oh, yes. So that was. And so that's Katie Jendleson. She's a PhD senior curator of American art and Marie Van Boom curator of folk and self-taught arts at the High Museum. And so the whole thing is she came out to the house to see the quilt because she got invited to a Zoom meeting that Brown Sugar had during the pandemic. So this quilt was created during the pandemic. But she came to the house, she wanted to see it, you know, because she was on Zoom, and I said, let me contact her, since Peggy said you need to contact her. So I contacted her. So a series of emails back and forth, and so she came out, she looked at it, she loved it, and so she had to do her magic on the board and whatever else they do there. But she's making an effort to bring more black quilts into the hive. Okay, let's see what the next one is. She wasn't able to join us. Okay, now this one, this is hanging during that exhibit. And these are the first school group that toured in December. And so I really like this. Katie shared this with me. The kid that's got I can't tell if it's a boy or girl, but the hand is raised, and that's the docent that's over to the side answering. And so I love that picture. And this little girl, this is another class, because my whole thing was, where are these youths? Are they coming? You know, they say they have all of these tours. So this young girl was a part of a tour with her class. And her teacher took this and shared it with the high, and then shared it with me. But this was just so perfect. She has the Afro puffs, and she's all decked out in the same colors. I don't know what, you know, I'd like to find out, but I don't, you know. But anyway, she made the slide. Love it. Okay, let's see. Okay, now this is Nyla Bowen. She's the curator. She's a former Mellon Fellow at the High Museum, and she coordinated this exhibition. And so this was me, the night, this was like some Friday night, you know, they have some big thing at the High every Friday, and jazz and all of that, so it drew a lot of people. But this is a shot of the museum visitors that night, and that was in February of 2023. And if you look close, you'll see the top of Nyla, and she's describing it to the people that's attending. Okay. All right, this is, I did some copies to share with you all, so you can go to these sites, and it's digital platforms that the High has, and you can, you know, sort for whatever, but all of this will give you additional information. It brings you on down to Patterns in Abstraction, Black Quilts from the High Museum. Now that exhibit started last summer in June, and it ended in January. And so, the next one, please.
Take the picture of the slide.
It's stuck.
We were taking pictures.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got copies for you all. Don't worry about that. I think I got enough. I think I got enough, because I did, yeah. So be sure to get one of these. Okay, now, this was the opening reception, Patterns in Abstraction, Black Quilts at the High Museum. This was in June of last year. And so before we had this, Katie and several of the folks at the High, they wanted to bring together a group of quilters, of academicians, of museum folks, and so it was about 20 of us, and I was so proud to be in that group. But we met for a couple of days, and we hashed out a lot of information, so if you go to this site that I'm giving you, you'll find more information that you want to, then I can share with you. Okay, so you'll see OV, and she's exhibited, and that's Marquetta Johnson. She passed in February. She was a prolific quilter. In fact, that's her quilt that's in the background. And it showed in the lower level. Now, a lot of these pictures, I'm in them, but I didn't take them. So folks shared them with me. And so I thank them wherever they are. So I was able to put together this. And so that was that night. That was the opening reception. Let's see what's next. And that's my sister O.B. Sitting among, with a star among stars. She truly is. A star among stars. And that's the quilt that the Kai has. That's her quilt. It was her quilt, but it's theirs now. But if you go to this site, you'll see a whole lot of information on these quilts. There she is smiling. She's so happy. I was happy too that night. Okay. Okay, now in the patterns of abstraction, this is like when you first walk in, they had this big mural all around, but they had these interactive quilts that you click on the quilt, it brings you to the next layer and talks about a lot. So if you go to that location on here, you'll be able to click on several quilts and it will tell you a whole lot of stories about the quilt. Okay, now this is in the second room of the exhibit. And so you see my quilt that's on the wall. And these are different passages from our, trying to think, what did they call it when we got together? I can't think of what it is. A convening.
Convening.
Right. And so you see throughout, like when you go and drill down, you see a lot of information. You see different essays that the different contributors sent. And so all of that's available. Okay, let's see. And this is my quilt, their quilt, hanging next to a G's bin quilt. It was beautiful. And that's the little narrative. That's the narrative on the side. They always put the little narrative, see right here, and they'll have a UR code that you hold your phone over and it tells you a lot of stories about the quilt. And so the next quilt, the next photo, is my grandson, Amadi. He was in an earlier picture, much younger. And he's getting ready to be 21, and he's at the University of Houston. And that's Philip. He shows up in a lot of And that's Amadi. He visited in December. And so he was doing the interaction. See how the screen is set up? It lets you click, 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 and it moves all around the quilt and tells you a lot of information. Okay, this is the tree. Okay, John Lewis came to the 10th anniversary of the Brown Sugar Stitchers, our celebration. And he was given a quilt, and you see on the back of the book, so you got to buy the book so you can see the back of the book with the quilt. He's holding that he received from the Brown Sugar Stitchers. And so that's Nancy, and that's me. And that quilt is a quilt that we did that year as a challenge, again. That one was to use 10 different fabrics, so that's actually a table runner, and I brought it with me to share it with you somewhere. And so that one is from the 10th anniversary, and that's John Lewis. Okay, next quilt, okay, now here is my advertising. Okay, Good Trouble Quilts, the fight, the progress, the legacy. O.B. Brantley, sitting back there. I know you all know the star. Okay, it was published by the Atlanta Quilt Festival. And so on the back of this book, you'll see the quilt that was given to him by the Brown Sugar Stitchers. And so that concludes, unless y'all want me to keep going.
Let me just say one or two things, please. Because Carolyn is very modest. I'm so glad that she came up here.
Because we're videoing. Microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Carolyn is very modest, but I'm so glad that she shared with you. But I want her to share what I don't think she mentioned. Like the quilt on the our far left where OV is standing, that is called Three Great Leaders. And depending on the angle you look at the quilt, you'll see the three great leaders. So once we conclude this formal part, it'll probably be good to walk and see more details. All of her quilts have a lot of detail.
Thank you, my dear.
Her music boxes, so they have music that play.
Oh, and I brought this. Let me show
So,
you. I know some questions might have got about how do you make the music. Yeah. Okay, so I brought one, so I'll show it to you.
So I just don't want to leave that out because she's very detail oriented, and I mean you are, and so they're fabulous. So once we disperse, then it'll be a great time to stand by the microphone.
Oh, I keep forgetting, I keep
I know.
pushing you.
But, you know, so you can see more of the details. Because even like the cow lily quilt, I don't know the process, I asked you about it, like, she actually did some dyeing of the fabric to make it a
Okay,
certain
yeah.
shade. And so there's a lot of different details that goes into her work, so.
Was she fabulous or was she fabulous?
Okay, all
You can
right.
talk while they sip their punch.
All right.
So we have a small reception that follows. We are so grateful. Oh, questions and answers?
Does anybody have any questions for Carolyn before we disperse for treats?
Okay. See, they
Keeping
keep,
us on
they
task.
keep me on task. That's my daughter, y'all, trying to tell me what to do. Okay, we are gonna take questions.
Yes, ma'am, right over here.
Okay, that's Brenda. Oh, Brenda, go ahead.
And then we'll go over here.
Michelle Mama's, your quilt, what is that you set up there on the right side of you?
What, say that again.
That's not the quilt, so what is that?
Oh, this is called a canvas.
What do you mean?
And like Walgreen or anybody that produces, you could have a shot of something and they'll make it 16 by 20 or some other sizes. So before I let it go, this is my rendition of the quilt. So I brought it because if you look close, you can see some of the charms and the crystals that's on here. Sometimes you don't see that detail. That's why you need to really see the quilt. But the detail, it's a lot of embroidery and a lot of charms and Swarovski crystals. And then her hair has a lot of beads, Nancy. She's our beater. And I have some cowrie shells in her hair, too. So that's actually a quilt on a quilt.
Got one right over here.
Yes, what's that called, the functions?
Three kings.
Three great leaders.
Yeah,
And the
great
struggle
leaders.
for freedom.
How long did that take you to do, and is that a technique that you teach?
Okay, that quilt was done as a, let's see, first of all, I'm trying to think how, it was a challenge. I'm trying to think, most of the time it's a challenge, I'm trying to think.
I just know it was hard.
It was challenging.
There was a lady, I went to the Houston Quilt Festival, and this had to be probably in 2015, and she had her quilt exhibited, and I forget what the name of it was, but she depicted Jacqueline Kennedy, Oprah Winfrey, and Mother Teresa. And her technique is called Trispectives 3-in-1 quilt. And she did a book, and I bought a book, and I looked at it closely, I said, that's too much work. But I didn't know until I got deep into the book that you had to know a little bit about Photoshop. And so I learned a little bit about Photoshop. Is so vast, you could get lost in it, but I just followed her directions. And what it is that the center is actually 44 inches wide, like on like regular yardage. But you have to have Photoshop to take photographs and slice them up in 1-inch slices. But what happened, I was trying to find, free art. That's the first thing you look for. But I was looking for them that at the age of 35 or thereabouts. So Martin didn't live past 39, so his picture is around 35. You'll often see Frederick Douglass with the white afro, an older person, but I was looking for him to be dapper. And so I found that. And then Harriet Tubman, she doesn't have her gili or whatever wrapped around, she's just there. But if you notice, back in the day, when they took pictures, they were dressed up in their Sunday best. And a lot of times they didn't smile. And Frederick was known for the most photographed person of his time. And so he was always, you don't see him in anything other than a suit. He was always well dressed. And so with the process, it's actually making pleats after you do this in Photoshop. And so hence you got to stand here. I see Frederick looking at me. You all may see Harriet, and then on the other side, you'll see Martin. Yes, ma'am.
So, is it true that you're doing all the quilting on a domestic machine?
I have what they call a handy quilt to Sweet 16. And so that's kind of like, the term is mid-arm. It's not the one that you fasten and roll up. So actually I'm rolling it up, and I have like a space of 16 inches that I'm moving over. Yeah. And I try to do all my quilts. I try to quilt all my quilts, no matter how little quilting or how much.
Yeah, one more, I think.
So the Michelle Obama quilt, that was free, all the swirls were free motion?
Okay.
By yourself?
Now here, you want to know my secret.
Oh,
My secret now, unlike Michelle Curry, over here, Kearney. Unlike Michelle, who loves to do free motion quilting, and you'll see some of her works out there, I try to find quilts of fabric that I can follow. So this actually is printed on there in a gold, and then I went over it in more metallic so it would shine. And so that one is that process. That is the same process I used in, that's my granddaughter over there, that's Jaya. And that quilt is called Perseverance of the Black Butterfly. It's out of the darkness into the light. So her little butterfly lights up at the top. And so on there you see 40 butterflies, and that talks about 40 acres and a view. So that's the story behind that. And of course I'm from New Orleans, so you got the purple and the green and the gold.
I think we got time for one more question. There was one right here.
Where is the Obama quilt currently? Is it at the high currently?
It's in storage. They tell me now that because it's fiber art, you can't let it sit out a long time, so you have to rotate it. So it's in storage at the high, and they probably will put it out. I'll find out, and maybe Ovi will let y'all know whenever our quilts come out again.
One more question.
I suppose.
Yes.
So since you, unlike a lot of us, finish what you start.
No, I have some UFOs, I do. But like I said, I'm not prolific like you all. Like some of you all
Yes, you are.
have 3 or 4 or 5 going at the same. How you do that, I don't know.
So my question is, for the one that's behind you there, do you have an estimated amount of time it took you to do it? Because I know there's a lot of embroidery, there's a lot of embellishments, there's a lot of...
You know, most of them, I would say about a year, or just under a year, because this was a challenge. Like I said, it was carrying out burdens gracefully in an homage to Dr. Maya Angelou. So I knew I wanted to have women represented, and so it's actually, you know, phenomenal woman. But these are phenomenal women. So when you look at them closely, and you see they all are women in there.
Is the mean girl gonna let us have another question? No.
Explain the music for me.
Okay, this is a little music box, and the company that does this is called Invite by Sound, Invite by Voice. And so you can, you know, search for it. And what I got interested in at first, it was like the one Maya Angelou has. It's almost like the cards, you know, the cards that you open up and it plays. Well, it's got so many seconds, so you got to find something that fits. But with this one, it's very soft, and you can hear it if you stand right next to it. But this one is more powerful, and it's got like maybe 200 seconds. And so that's what's on most of the other ones. So as you go around, and I'll play the different quotes for you to see.
You record your own?
It's an MP3. It's a version that my son helps me with. It's called an MP3.
Okay, no, okay, no more plays.
No,
You promised what?
Can I just make an extended question?
Go ahead.
You made the quilt for your mother-in-law that had the music.
yes.
So those quilts, are they meant to be laundered?
Well, no, because it's got a lot of the embroidery and a lot of the photographs that's on there. It's actually an heirloom. Because, you know, she knew that it was playing. Because like I said, I didn't turn the box off. And so when she must have kept pressing the button, she says, it keeps singing. It keeps singing for good times. And so you can take the box out. And so if you don't have as much ornate things on it, you can put the box in, take it out if you want to watch it. Yeah.
Okay, we are now going to move into our little reception. I wanted to leave plenty of time for you to speak to Carolyn personally and ask your personal question. You can tell she's just a beautiful, genuine person. She will stay here and answer your questions and take selfies with you until we lock the building. She's gonna pass those out. But I do have a special introduction, which is a surprise to me that I'm gonna do very quick. And Mark, is that you back there? Look at him looking around like he might not be here. We have the honor of the Mason Fine Art Gallery here, and Peggy Martin, Aisha Lamamba, and I were honored to be in his art gallery about a month ago, and he's here scoping out new beautiful quilts to see who else he can snatch in. So I just want you to know we got it going on at the Atlanta Quilt Festival.
Mark, I thank you because I was kind of on the fence what to do with the quilt. And a lot of times these quilts, they take on a life of their own. And I know that you were gracious enough to let Brown Sugar Stitches have their launch party when we had our book, our 20th anniversary. And so that wasn't enough. I met you, I brought this crew, but I met you and I came back and talked to you, and you gave me a lot of feedback about how to walk the walk and talk the talk.
That's so
Thank you
nice.
so much.
And thank you for being here, Mark. All right, so we have some refreshments, and let me just say, we do have out-of-town quilters in the room, so everybody just be very, very friendly. Walk up and introduce yourself to people, and Carolyn's going to take pictures. Come up here and look at her quilts up close so you can see the fine detail of her work, and just enjoy yourselves. And thank you so much for coming.